Hello everyone, and welcome to Crafternoon.
Hello, thank you. So today we are making a beginner crepe paper cherry blossom.
Yes, this is perfect for someone who's never made crepe paper flowers before. We were working on it earlier today to kind of get prepped. And how was it for you? Because you're a beginner.
I am a beginner and it was really fun and much easier than I thought it'd be.
It is, and they're so beautiful and delicate. So we're really glad you're here and we're going to make some magic together. So the first thing we have is the template, and you can go ahead and download the template if you haven't already. You can find this URL below the video where you can find this if you don't have it, and we have it in an SVG and a PDF. So if you want to cut it out on the cutting machine, you can. I cut it all out by hand, and I'll give a demo for that here in a bit. But one thing you will want to note on the template, it says for this flower, when using heavy crepe paper, you want to pre-stretch before cutting all pieces. And then the other note that's really important are these grain lines. You'll want to match the grain lines, especially in this wide piece, so that it can stretch the right way. All right, so for materials, let's talk about that. I'm going to be using this crepe paper, and this is the German-made crepe paper that we sell. You can use any type of crepe paper you want, but I really do love this one. The combination is just gorgeous. This is the blush, the Nectarine, pink hibiscus, and the Juniper. We also have these paper-covered wires, and this is a 24-gauge white wire, and this is all sold in a bundle in our shop.
Yeah, so if you pop over to Full Paper Scissors, we actually have 25% off on this bundle. And one bundle will make hundreds of flowers. So.
It will. You can have a couple Crafternoons with this bundle with all your friends. Kind of rotate them through. They're going to love you for it, I promise. The other thing you're going to need is a stick. And this is something that we found in nature. Just walking through the park, you can find this, especially this time of year. And my one tip on that is go ahead and let it dry before you try to add the flowers. It just adheres better if it's not green or if it's dried out from the wet weather. And the other tip on picking a twig like this is consider that these flowers are very delicate and small, so you want your twig to match. You want it to be kind of a lighter weight, not a thick stem. And oftentimes when I go look at twigs, show them what yours looks like, I try to look for splits of 3. This one has 3, and then there's some weird funky things on the end on mine, but Anna's is perfect. Hers is a 3, and I think that number 3 is a really beautiful harmonious visual. So that's kind of my rule of thumb. You can see on this one here, this one has 3 as well. So that is your twig. The other material that we are going to use today is the Lia Art Precision Craft Glue, and it has this very fine tip, and this is our go-to for all crepe paper flowers.
Yes, and in celebration of National Craft Month, which is this month in March, we are doing a special giveaway with Lia Art. So if you head over to liagriffith.com/Beerly. Make sure to enter our giveaway. We'll be giving away 5 sets of these, and winner will be announced on the 10th, so make sure you check in.
Yes, and big shout out to Lia Art Glue. So, all right, that's all of our materials, and then our tools that we're going to be using. I cut everything by hand, and I use these small detail scissors. These are really fine point, and they just work so well with these tiny petals. Also, some wire cutters. I have my my fringe clip, and this is how I do the fringing. I'll show you the demo on that. I have a hot glue gun. This is how we'll actually glue the flowers to the twigs, is with the hot glue gun. I also have some needle nose tweezers. These are such tiny petals. This is optional, but it will help you get in there and move some things around if you need to. Another couple optional tools is we have this ball tool that we use for quite a few crepe paper flowers. It's a multi-use tool. I think they use it for fondant and they use it for clay, so you can find these really easily. And this particular one, this one has, I should have measured this, but I think it's about like a 3/8 head on one side and maybe a 1/4 inch on the other side. So we'll be using that today, but you don't have to. I'll show you both methods. And the other optional are these 3mm pinking shears, and this is an optional tool as well. All right, so that's all of our tools. Do you want me to show you how to cut?
Yes, okay. Can't wait.
All right, so I'll move some things around here. One thing is when you're making your flowers, you do not need a lot of crepe paper. Right here in front of me is enough to make a whole stem, and I'll have leftover too. So let me move these out of the way. All right, so the first thing I'll do is I'll cut smaller pieces, and this is pretty random. There's no size really that you need to worry about. And I have here a piece of the blush that I've cut. And I've cut it into a size that's manageable for me to work with. And then I'm going to stretch it.
Wow, look at that.
Yes, and I'm stretching it pretty much all the way. There's not a whole lot of give left. Then I'm going to take my little template. Oh, this is another optional, is you can use these little tiny mini clips if you want to. It's something that's nice to have. And after I've cut a bunch of the petals, I will just clip my pattern on there so I can find it because they're so tiny they'll just run away on me. All right, so I have my template here and I can see about the width. Now the beautiful thing about cutting this crepe paper by hand with these really good scissors is that you can cut multiple layers, and I would say depending on your scissors they need to be sharp enough, but with these scissors I can cut I could probably do more, but I could cut at least 8 layers. So what I like to do is clip the other half on that side, and then I'm going to cut this one in half. And I'll place my template. You can see the grain line matches the grain line. If you want to, you can use this to hold it in place while you cut. And then you can flip it to the other side and just do an easy cut around. Now, the other thing about these templates, you do not have to be exact with your cutting. Don't get too fussy with it. This is a general size and shape, just a guide. So you don't worry if it's a little bit bigger or if you cut into it at some point. So that's how I like to cut the petals. And we have the main flower petal, as well as we have this little tiny petal for the buds. And for this, you'll want 5 petals per flower and 4 petals for bud. And just as a reference, on this twig here, I have 10 of the flowers and 10 of the buds. And you can put as many or as little as you want. Obviously, you want a few because it will make it prettier. We also have these leaves, the leaf piece that's out of the cypress, and then we have these sepals that are out of the pink hibiscus, and you would cut those the same way. I generally will put at least 2 or 3 of these per flower and bud, and then at least 1 leaf per flower. But that's a plus and minus. That's really up to you how many you want. So I just like to cut a whole pile. If I use all of these, I'll just cut some more. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do the center, because this is a little bit trickier. Not really tricky, it just has a different step. So I have my template right here, and rather than laying it on and cutting it out, I have a different method. So I'm just going to cut a piece. I don't need much because this stretches.
And this is how you get hundreds out of 1 pack.
Yes, this is how you get hundreds out of 1 pack. So here I am, I'm nice and stretched out. And then I'm just going to fold this up at least 6 times, maybe even 8. And then I'll clip that to the edge, and I'm just using this as a measurement for the width.
And then I just want to point out how you're lining up the grain line with the crepe.
Yes, so I'm lining up the grain line with the crepe because you want it to be stretchy like elastic, I guess that's a good way to think of it. And then I'll just cut that. I have a longer strip, and then you can cut it for the length easily enough. It doesn't have to be exact, you can just cut it in general. And the reason is the width of this is actually the width of our French clip, which you're not going to use quite yet. I have one more step before that. So it just makes it really easy. And you can get 5 or 6 centers for 5 or 6 flower centers out of 1 strip.
Oh, wow.
So I like to do, it's easier to do a bulk and then cut them down. All right, you'll do the same step for these little yellow pieces. This is the pollen piece. So I'm going to show you the next step here. You can take one of those, Anna. Okay. And the pollen piece, I'm not so fussy about cutting it down because to me it's almost easier to have a bigger piece. And then I'll just cut it sort of the same size.
Did you stretch this piece?
Yes, those were stretched as well before I cut them. Or you can stretch it after you cut them, either way. I think it's a good idea to try to keep this piece as even as possible. If you can keep it nice and straight, you'll see why here in a second. It will make an easier pollen tip. So I'm adding, you can see how this Barely Art glue tip is letting me add just a really thin layer.
Yeah, the spouts are so fine.
Yeah.
This comes out so nicely.
And they're easy. They don't get clogged too easily, but if they do, they're really easy to unclog. Okay, the next step is I'm going to place the pink over half of it. And this is my tip on this one. I pick it up and hold it in the light so I can kind of see the transparency of the crepe paper and really try to get that as even as possible. Again, don't worry about it if it's not perfect. You don't have to be too fussy. If anything, I would short it than over it, but make it as even as possible, as straight. So when I say short, leave more showing and place your pink over the shorter side. Then we're going to use our fingers and just flip that over. And this is going to be the pollen. You can see my long ends there. I'm just going to clip those off. Easy enough. Just kind of use your thumb. The thing about these flowers, they're very easy to make. There's just a lot of little bits and pieces. So sometimes I wish I had little tiny fingers.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. Not about your fingers, about mine.
Okay, so there we have our piece ready to go. However, we have one more step. Now I was going to show you how I use the pinking shears. This is an option. You don't have to do this. I'm going to use the pinking shears to cut off half of that pollen. And the reason why I'm cutting half is I want a much lighter pollen. And the reason why I'm using pinking shears is so that I don't have a blunt, flat top. Again, you don't have to do this. We are going to kind of twist them at the end. It's just a really fun technique. So you can do that with either your pinking shears or just your regular scissors. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop that into my fringe clip, and I'll place, I don't know, not very much. I would say maybe 1/8 of an inch into the clip. And the most important thing on this is to keep it as straight as possible. So if you can just get in there and adjust it. Looks like there's a little bump out there, but that's probably okay.
I'm wondering if you can see the concentration on my face.
We need a camera on Anna here for her concentration face. It's really fun. I'll tell you, this little detail, this fussiness is probably the hardest thing about this flower, but it's not that hard.
It's not that hard. And I have to say, I love the spot on this glue because it comes out very fine.
That's why we love it.
That's why we love it, yeah.
Okay, so now I'm taking my little tiny scissors. This is the fun part. We're going to fringe.
I like
and
that.
I'm going to fringe pretty much as small as I can. So I would say if you're using the pinking shears, you're going to be cutting each of those points in half. I'm not really lining them up. I'm just kind of moving along. But you want them fairly small and take your time. I know there's some people here who cut very fast, but I feel good about just taking my time.
This is surprisingly really fun.
Yeah. And it helps to have good scissors, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It really is. We do sell these scissors over in our shop at Felt Paper Scissors if you need to find them. And of course, we have them in the hot pink, which I love.
Yes. Favorite color, favorite scissors.
Yes.
That's how we roll.
So you can go ahead and just fringe from one side to the other. And remember that this fringe will create 5 or 6 flowers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so you don't have to do as many of these. If you're making, a 10 flower, you don't need any for the buds. So if you're making a stem with 10 flowers, you only need 2 of these. So today I have already pre-made some flowers, and I'm just going to cut the one. All right, and before I take it off the clip, I'm going to kind of get my fingers a little bit wet and then roll these between my fingers. And I'm just rolling lightly so I don't twist them off and I don't bunch them together. And I'm just kind of grabbing onto those pollen bits and just kind of rolling them up so that they get a bit crunched. If the glue's still wet, it will help sort of mold it into more of a point. So this is why it's not really important that you use the pinking shears, because we are sort of condensing these top bits to smaller pieces.
But if you have a pair, definitely use them.
Yeah, definitely use them, especially these little 3 millimeters.
I like this little inside tricks.
Yeah.
Tips.
So once you are done, go ahead and pop it off. And, if you want to cut it into 6, that's easy. You just, half and half. If you wanted to cut it into 5, you can measure that out by however you want to do. I kind of do a zigzag and work it through until I get the right number. That was pretty good. There's 5 right there. And again, they don't have to be exact because some flowers will have more pollen than others. So then I'll just go through and clip those corners or those folds to get my 5 bits. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think I also got 5.
Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna need the wire, and what I'm gonna do here is cut the wire into 4 pieces. I'll give you 2 of them. There's no real length. 4 pieces, random. You don't have to worry about length because we're actually going to cut all the wire off before we attach it. And I'll use my fine point glue again to just add a line of glue right on the base. Place my wire right on top of that glue, and you can see how I'm actually moving up into the fringe itself. It really won't show, so it's a little less than half.
Okay.
It will help hold it on. You don't want it to be too close to the edge. It just gets kind of floppy. I'll roll it and then just kind of pinch it. And what I usually do is I'll go ahead and make up all 10 of mine at once, set them out, and then start adding the petals. I don't think I'll do all 10 today, or all 5 today, because we already have a bunch made.
Yeah, I think this is so fun and it's so easy, but I still feel like an accomplished paper flower artist.
Yes, well, you are, and it's a really
Now I am.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful display. Just put it in a vase, and it's so gorgeous.
Yes. It also makes a beautiful gift, and we have a fun little challenge today.
We do. So we'll tell you all about our challenge here in a minute. What I was going to say is, if you're working along with us, you can pause the video at any time and kind of catch up to where we're at. So we're going to pretend that we got all of our centers rolled onto our wires. If you want to pause and catch up, and then we'll start with adding the petals. How's that sound?
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, so the petals for each flower, we're using the larger petal, and each flower will need 5 petals. So I have 2 flowers here. I'll go ahead and do 10. And you can use your ball tool here, but I'm going to show you the technique without your ball tool first. It's really quite simple. And that is, you just hold it in your hands like this with the grain line going up and down. And then I just kind of hold the edges with my thumbs and pinky, or my pointer fingers, and then just sort of pop my pointer fingers upward to give it a curved stretch. Pretty easy, huh?
Pretty easy.
Just to give it some shape. And since it's already really stretched, you can go ahead and give it some gusto and give it a bit more stretch, so if we don't have as much left in that stretch as we did before we started cutting. So that's the way I would do it with my fingers. Now, if you want to use the ball tool, I would use the larger tip of the ball tool, and I just kind of place the ball tool on my petal and then use my pinkies, or I keep saying pinkies, my pointer fingers, and pull the edges towards me. And that gives kind of the same effect.
Yeah, and since I have a ball tool, I actually find this a little easier. But if you don't have one, the way Lia showed works as well.
Yes, it does. And of course, we have these at our shop too. All of our favorite tools. We try to curate all the best.
Yeah, and if you are looking this weekend, we actually have a sale on our heavy crepe paper this weekend. If you check out the site, feltpapersisters.com, between March 7th and March 10th, and use the code, let's see.
We have to look over there. Yeah. We have our notes.
Bloom Together. So use the code Bloom Together for 25% off our heavy crepe paper sticker packs. Great weekend to do some shopping.
Yeah. All right, so the next step, this is one that Anna helped me perfect for a beginner, so I love this. We are going to glue all the petals together first. So I'm just adding a touch of glue to the very base of my point. Then I'm taking the second petal and overlapping it. You can see it's probably, I'm going to say 2/3 overlapped each other. But I only want the very tip to be glued, nothing beyond where my thumb is. So you can see the gap right there. See how they're overlapped to just probably about 2/3. Okay, a little bit more glue on the tip there. And I'll do the same thing with the next petal and just continue repeating that for all 5 petals. And this, you know, just a little bit of glue goes a long way. You don't have to use a lot. And once this glue does dry, it's really solid. So we love it for crepe paper. And I think, you know, use less over more also, because you don't want your crepe paper to get too soggy as you're working. All right, so there I have my splay of 5 petals. And I'll take my center, add a bit more glue at the base right there, and I'm going to place the center. You can see all, you can see all the stamen. I'm kind of overlapping the petals right underneath the stamen. Then I'm just going to wrap it around and then overlap the petal, and I'm overlapping it in the same rotation. Doesn't, you know, I mean, you can do it this way. If you do it the other way, it's okay, but so you can see how they're all rotated the same direction. Then I'm just going to run my fingers and sort of twirl it between my fingers and pinch to give it a nice secure base. Then you want to bring that cup of petals that we have, the flowers, yeah. Mm-hmm. So before I start opening these up, I do like them to dry so that they stay in place, and so I'll just drop them in a cup.
And I actually use my tweezers to pinch the bottom.
That's a good idea too, yeah. If you feel like your fingers are too big.
All of a sudden my fingers are like ginormous.
Then you can use the tweezers. I love the tweezers for that, to just really get in there. So I'm repeating these steps for every petal set. There'll be 5 petals. And this is fun because you're repeating, so it's kind of this little bit meditative.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's very calming and but also very fulfilling because I'm making something with my hands.
You are. You're using your hands to create beauty.
Yes.
I love that.
So for those that don't know, I am not a designer or maker here at Lia Griffith. I work sourcing this paper. So I am a true beginner. And this is really fun to be on this side.
And that's why we invited Anna to come in and craft with us, do the Crafternoons with us, is because we want these Crafternoons to be beginner friendly. And we feel like if Anna can do it, then we know that anyone can do it.
Anna can do it, anyone can do it.
Well, it's not like that. It's just, you know, I'm sure we just want to make sure it's beginner friendly, and Anna helps us do that. I'll say it that way.
If Anna has fun, anybody can have fun.
There we go. All right, so I have my whole bowl of flowers made, and actually this is enough for both of us. This is enough for both Anna and I. And then I'm going to show you how to make the bud. So let's go over the buds. All right, so the bud petals are really tiny. And for those buds, we're going to use 4 for each. And like I mentioned before, I did 10 of the full blooms here. There we go. And then 10 buds on the end. And it really depends on what you want. This can vary. Everyone's twig will be unique. So just kind of design it for what you need. And also when I was making this original branch here, I kind of designed it as I went, and I would make some, add them on, make more, add them on, just because I was working out the details. I think now I could probably guess and then make all those flowers. If I need more, I can just make more. Same thing with this one. They're a little harder to stretch because they're so tiny, but if you need to just kind of pop your fingers through the same way, or use the smaller end of the ball tool. And for these, you do want to give it as much stretch as you possibly can to get that beautiful cup. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying it's surprisingly quick to make them.
Yeah, it is. And since it's a repeat, you can just learn how to make one and then just keep going over and over again, which is fun because then you can sit and chat with your girlfriends.
Exactly. And this is really what we're hoping for, to invite some girlfriends over, sit, craft, and chat.
Yes. And with that note, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to let you guys catch up stretching your petals, and I'll show you what we created for you. So we wanted to make this a really fun Crafternoon event. So we did a little extra, and we designed this little invitation that you can use to send to your friends. And it says here, it's the same text as this one. It says, like cherry blossoms, we bloom together. There's a poster size, art piece size, and then a little size that goes for an invitation with a little invitation flap you can add. And the fun thing is they print out looking like this so that you can watercolor them and add some of your own personality to this. And on this particular post, I actually show how I watercolored it. And it's so easy and it's so fun. Anyone can do this. This is like a paint by number watercolor.
Yeah, it makes a beautiful piece of art to hang on your wall. And like I mentioned, we have so much fun crafting together. We're really hoping that you will do that too.
And we have the link to those below if you haven't grabbed yours yet. So, all right, I have 5 of these little petals ready to go.
Can you pass me a wire, please?
Yes. There's
Thank you.
one right here. I thought there was one more tucked in here, but that's okay. We'll cut another one. Oh, also I want to show you another trick. I'll give you the wire. And then one thing I wanted to know. So we have the wires on our buds. If you want to save wire, this is a great usage. Since I glue these straight onto the branch, I do cut the wire right at the base of the flower. I'm going to show you how much stem I left there. Then I have all of this wire left that I can use for my bud. So if you want to go through and cut all of your flowers off and place them in a bowl, you can repurpose those stems.
Nice little tip.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put, I would say, 1/3 to the bottom, 2/3 from the top, and then the bottom third will have a line of glue. I'm going to place my wire about halfway up into that cup. So the cup is towards the table, and then I'll wrap that around really gently so that I'm only pinching at the base and I get this pretty little kind of spiral at the top. You can see that here. All right, and then we have our second petal. Again, I need smaller fingers. I'll add some glue at the base and then overlap that opening and just kind of rotate it. And I'm only pinching the base so that the top stays open and starts to look like it might be starting to bloom just a bit. So I have the 2, and I'll add the 3rd and then the 4th. So there's 4 petals. I use the center petal and then 3 to wrap around. So a total of 4 petals. So there's the 3rd one. And then to prepare the buds, I do one extra step before I start gluing them onto the stem. And that's where I'll add these hot pink sepals. When I was designing this branch, it was, I was trying to add a bit more color, and I was looking all over for some inspiration and photos of real, sorry, I'm getting in your way, of real cherry blossoms. And I saw this hot pink version, and I'm like, that's it. I want to do the hot pink.
I love the pop of color for sure.
I do too. Yeah. It's
so
kind
pretty.
of, it's playful too.
Just like us.
Yeah. So I have my little teeny tiny sepal here, and my fingers are nice and sticky. That kind of helps. And I'm adding some glue to the base, again, probably the bottom third. And I'm placing it onto the wire. And I want to make sure it doesn't move up more than half over the bud. So I moved it down the wire because they're so tiny. I didn't want to make them smaller to match the base. So I thought this was a really good method. But don't cover up too much of your bud because you do want to see that pink coming through. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, good. Good.
I feel like I got this.
You do. It looks beautiful. And I love your use of tweezers there.
Yeah.
The hot pink tweezers with the hot pink crepe paper.
Like a good hot pink.
And then you can just rotate those 3 pieces around that pretty little bud. All right, and there we have it. And again, we wanted to have 10 each of these buds. Let's count how many we have. 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need to make 3 more.
Okay.
All right, we're going to make 3 more.
All right, I'm going to take some wire from this one.
And really, the count is just kind of a guess. You can work with the branch that you have, what makes sense. There we go. All right, we have one, while we're doing this, while we're making our 3 more, we have one more thing we want to share with everybody. Well, actually, we might have more than one. But here's the next one. So, in addition to International Craft Month?
It's National Craft Month, yeah.
Okay, well, not international, sorry.
Yet.
Those of you. But
Maybe
National
we should
Craft
make
Month.
it.
Yeah, we should make it international. We also have International Women's History Day, and we also have International Women's Day, which is tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So happy National Women's Day, everybody.
Yeah. So, you know, we're a women-owned business, and we do have some wonderful men who work here, but there's also women. And we wanted to really lean into this, so we decided that we're going to give you guys a challenge. And that is, this is why you can make so many branches from this crepe paper. Make a crepe paper branch for someone that you admire, or that who inspires you, or that might just need a little boost. And we have these cute little tags that you can put on the stem that says, like cherry blossoms, we bloom together, because you can see how they bloom in clusters.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah, and gift it to someone. I think I'm going to make at least a dozen of these, because I think this is so cute. And I think it would make a lot of women's days. And I feel like it's time for us women to really get in there and vocally and outwardly support other women. I mean, we do, but
That's beautiful.
let's do it even louder. Let's do it with crepe paper flowers. We love our men too, but you know, sometimes sisterhood is a really good thing. How you doing over there?
I am doing great. This is so much fun.
So that is our challenge to you, and we'd love to see, like, if you do this and you share it with people, share your story with us.
Yes. Yeah, please tag us at Lia Griffith
Yes.
on Instagram or Facebook so we can see it.
And I definitely think I'm going to be sitting here making these all weekend, because I have a lot of women that I admire.
That is amazing. What a gift.
Yeah. All right. I have one more to make.
And look how fast we made these.
They really are fast. Here, I'm going to let you add those pink sepals to this one.
Okay.
And this is a good time if you're wanting to pause the video and go ahead and catch up to having all of your little buds ready. You can do that now, and we will see you with the next step. If you're just watching, then you can hang out with us a bit more. We promise we won't get ahead of you if you pause.
This is a good time to remind everybody to sign up for our email list. If you pop over to liagriffith.com, we have lots of fun announcement this month, considering that it is National Craft Month.
It is, and we also we're going to be having a Crafternoon every month, so you'll want to know when those happen and be all ready and prepared. We're really enjoying this. And we're wanting, you know, Crafternoon to be a thing where you invite your friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, spread the love for sure.
Yeah. Everybody needs a bit more crafty joy right now. So, all right, there's the second one. And as you can tell, once you kind of get the hang of it, you can sit here and make little buds and blooms and chat at the same time. Have a few snacks.
Mm-hmm. Cup of tea. Then I want to remind everybody again to check out liagriffith.com/barely for the chance to enter and win our giveaway this month. We are drawing 5 lucky winners on Monday, so make sure you pop over and enter your name.
All right, I'm going to add those last bits here. I should have gotten another bowl so that the greens and pinks weren't mixing.
But it makes for a pretty color combo.
It does. All right, we are so close to being done because once the flowers are put together and the buds are attached,
the branch will bloom.
Yes, it's gonna go fast.
Such a beautiful spring flower.
Yeah, I love these because this is the break between winter and spring. When you start seeing those cherry blossoms, it's like, oh, hello.
Yes, almost here.
Spring is here.
We need you, spring.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut your wire down so it's not showing.
Okay.
Okay. And now, all right, are we ready to place these on our branches? I'm going to tidy up just a little bit. At this point, I don't need any of my petal pieces or my center pieces, but I will want the rest of the sepals, the hot pink sepals, and the leaves. So I'm just going to tidy up. I'm going to push everything over here. I do need my tweezers. And we need to turn on our hot glue guns.
And we did.
I almost forgot to do that. Oh, did you already? Oh, they are. They're on. Okay, yay. All right, my branch floated over here. I'm going to put these between us so you can get them too. I don't need the glue anymore. Well, no, I do need the glue. Hold on.
We always need glue.
I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've put these on the branch. Okay, so when I'm designing and deciding how I lay out the flowers on my branch, I'll generally try to do heavier clusters and then kind of lighten it up as it goes up the branch, and then add the buds more towards the tips. So it has kind of a flow and it doesn't feel overly heavy at the end. As you're working with your flowers, you can go ahead and cut them off the wire. And I don't know if you can see this, but I've cut it all the way down to the crepe so that none of the wire is showing. So you can turn your wire cutters the direction that the cutting is closest to the edge and then cut towards the flower. If that makes sense? Now, this is a time when you can go ahead and start opening up your petals and make that bloom. If you want to take your tweezers and sort of fluff out the centers, you can do that as well. You can do that now or once you have it assembled on the bloom. It's really up to you. I'm going to go ahead and prep mine right now. So go ahead and do 10 of each.
I love how they're blooming.
Yeah. And then I'll use my tweezers to fluff out the center. And if you look at cherry blossoms, here, you have those, you'll notice that they're not an even spread. Like they're kind of messy in a beautiful way.
Wild and fun.
Yeah. It might be easier to move your petals when it's on the stem now that I'm doing this. So maybe move out the petals before you cut them off.
Okay.
Although
bloom different ways.
This works too. So there's 3. So I might need a little bit more.
Okay, I think the tweezers might be my new favorite tool.
Okay. Yes. Well, you sourced those too.
Yeah, they come in handy for many things.
Yeah. Now you know why I had you get them.
Yeah. It's a good reminder to make sure people sign up for our email list because there might be some emails coming out about some great deals on tweezers. Who knows?
That's true. Okay, there's 5 open. I'll do another. Yeah. Another 5. This just looks so pretty. It's, it's sitting here on the table, but I feel like it's already coming to life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm really surprised how quick and effortless this feels in a really beautiful way.
Yeah. We like effortless.
Yeah, and if you're a beginner like me, we always say that nature isn't perfect. And these flowers and petals all have their own personality, and that's why I like that so much.
Well, I say that for me, and I'm not quite a beginner, but sometimes my flowers don't look perfect.
Well, neither does nature, and that's what's so amazing. They all have their own individuality.
And of course, all these little stems that I'm cutting off, I would definitely save those. We could do the same for our buds, but right now I think I'm going to start adding some of these blooms. So I think I'll start here in the center with one, add a dot of glue, and then I'll place that little flower. It cools really quickly. And then I'm going to want to put one on the other side. Whoops, it just kind of pulled away. Let me give myself
So I should start kind of down here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like to cluster the flowers, so adding, two together like this. You can even add more together if you want. I mean, this is a pretty lightweight branch that I designed and created, but I could have doubled the flowers and it would have looked gorgeous. So it's really, your own taste and how you want to manage it. So I'll just kind of continue to do that. You don't have to do two. I would do some with just one and then add a bud as your second. And then some you could just be as a single. And be generous with the glue. We're actually going to cover that hot glue up. I'm going to add a little more there. Just remember, if you add hot glue, it gets soft again. So you just need to hold it. We'll be covering that big hot glue glob up with the leaf and the sepals. Yes, there we go. So I'll add some here. You can even turn it over. When I was designing this first one, I wanted the flowers to look good from all directions. So I put some on, one side and the other, and that way you can also see the backs of the flowers as you go. And you can see here's a little twig that got clipped. That's a perfect place to put the flower.
Oh yeah, that looks very natural.
It does.
Already coming to life for sure.
It is. And you can see how I'm kind of spacing them out so that they have a bit of a flow. Maybe not side by side. They're kind of spaced in a formation that's not even. I'll say it that way.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out words to use. Yeah, so you just want to have them uneven and kind of naturally flowing.
Like organic.
Yep, very organic. Since this is a bit bigger of a stick than my last one, I think I am going to spread mine out a bit more. But even that, it's already looking really great. I still have the buds.
And you mentioned earlier this is something we're going to do once a month.
Yes, we're going to be doing Crafternoon once a month. We'll have a new flower every month, and it will be beginner level, that means you're going to do it with me. Hello.
Yay, I'm excited. This is really fun.
So if you're on our email list, you'll always get the notices for those, and you can come in and join us.
Yes, and these are designed to be free beginner patterns.
Yep, they are.
But even if you're an advanced paper flower artist, I think you'll have fun making these.
I think they're fun. I'll show you all the advanced version of this flower that we made this month for our member make, which is a special 1 month event that we do for our members. All right, let me divvy these up between you and I. 1, 2.
Yeah, so if you love these cherry blossoms, come and check out our membership over at liagriffith.com. For less than $13 a month, you get access to over 2,000 projects in our library, and we have over 200 paper flower videos.
We do, and all kinds of more, even more.
More.
All right, so now I'm going to cut off the stems of the buds and I'm going to add the glue to the bud this time, and then just start finding places that you think they belong. I like to cluster a few buds with the flowers just to have that, sort of diversity in my arrangement. And again, the buds, I would say I'm placing more towards the end versus way down at the base. But there's no wrong or right. You can do what feels right to you. This is where your creativity can really come out.
Bloom.
Yes. Creativity bloom. Of course, we're on the bloom theme. And then I'm adding a few buds to the tips as well. Not all the tips, but a few. And I'll add some leaves to the tips.
I'm really going to need those leaves to hide some of my glue. But that's so beautiful that you can do that.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I love this.
I know, it's really gorgeous.
I'm going out twig hunting this weekend. I have to make more of these.
I think I will be too.
And I'm finding little knobs and holes in my twig to add these because I think that looks really natural. You know, we're just kind of following nature's rhythm here.
I'm so glad I get to make this. This is really fun.
I knew you'd like this one, Anna. The one thing I really like about doing blooming branches, which we are doing a blooming branch next month as well. It's very different, so you'll probably want to do both. But they're in one stem makes an arrangement. Like you don't even need to add anything. You can just place it in a container, and it's just beautiful.
They stand so well on their own.
Yeah. I have one in my entryway at home, and it's been there for years. It's the quince blossom.
Oh yeah, that's pretty.
All right, I'm getting down to my last buds here.
I think this is going to look really pretty on my mantle.
And then you'll make 10 more for friends.
For sure. Like to spread the joy.
Ooh. All right. Yeah, you might want to hold your buds until they cool off. That one was starting to run away. There we go. They cool really quickly, so you don't need to worry about them too long. Okay, since this is a shorter branch, I'll go ahead and add one there. The other thing about hot glue is you have to contend with the glue strings everywhere. And getting your fingers stuck. Okay, this one I'm going to do again. All right. All right, there I have.
Oh wow, look how
Isn't that pretty?
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, so 10 blooms and 10 buds actually did work really well for this
Yeah.
this very awkward shaped branch.
But it doesn't look awkward anymore.
It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. It really filled out nicely. All right, now I'm going to put my hot glue gun away. You want to move it to the other side. Otherwise, well, I'll just drop it on the floor.
Stick to my feet.
Yeah. And try to remove some of these glue strings because they're sort of in the way.
Oh yeah, wow.
Now I'm going to use the white glue again. And what I like to do first is I'm going to pull some of these leaves out. I'm going to split these hot pink ones with you, Anna, because I'm going to add some of these hot pink sepals to the backs of the flowers. The buds already have them. Now we're just going to sprinkle them with the flowers along with the leaves. So it gives this, it kind of merges the colors together really nicely. So there's 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I have 6 here, or 7, and I think I gave you 7.
Okay.
So not all of them will get it, and that's okay because we'll be adding the leaves as well. I'll put quite a bit of white glue on the back there. Then I'm going to look for spots that could just use that little hot pink splash. So I see one here. And you can turn your branch, from one side to another. Just add a little bit of color. And we'll add some green as well. I feel like, and I think you're the same way, we like green.
Yeah.
We feel like just a little bit of green really
Makes
help.
it pop, yeah.
It does. And,
Kind of enhances the other colors.
it does. And I think that a lot of the cherry blossoms don't really have leaves on them, or they're very, very slight, but I made the decision to go ahead and add some green. You don't have to. You can
Added
just,
very slight ones.
yeah, and you can just use the hot pink if you don't want the green. But this is kind of a creative venture, so you can make it the way you like. And in this case, I'm kind of sliding this onto the crepe paper versus the stem because there's really no glue showing. So you can kind of mix it between the two, just where it looks like you can tuck it in easily. And it covers up some of that hot glue. I wouldn't use hot glue for these because what happens is when you attach hot glue to the cool glue that's already cooled, it melts it. So if you are doing that, just keep that in mind. You're going to need to hold everything in place, where this white glue just slides on beautifully. That looks beautiful.
Yeah, I know. It's so fun.
Okay, in this case, I'm going to place it on the wood. And if you need to, get your tweezers out. You can, here's all your little pieces here.
Okay.
Try not to accidentally steal yours. So I have one more here I'll add, and then I'll start into the green. And the reason why, in case you're wondering, I'm using the hot glue to secure the flowers and the buds because they're much heavier, and I feel like they need that extra sort of structure to hold the flowers on themselves, where these little tiny pieces are so lightweight that you don't need to use the hot glue for them.
So just to confirm, for the little pink pieces, you're using the white Burley Arts glue.
Yes.
Okay.
And I just explained why. So now I'm going to go back over and place my little tiny green leaves, kind of in the same idea where I'm covering any bits of glue, hot glue that you can see. I'm starting there, just covering the hot glue. And I just feel like once you start adding this green, it comes to life. It starts to look like
A little branch.
yeah, like spring.
Which we all desperately are longing for.
Yeah. And you can add as many leaves as you like. This is really up to you and your own taste and your own, creativity of where you want and how many leaves you want on your branch. So you might, put 1 leaf per flower, 2 leaves per flower, maybe just 1 leaf per cluster. I kind of mix it up. I'll do some with 2 and some with 1.
So we would love to hear what you guys think at home.
Yeah, so make sure if you have any questions, since you are watching the replay, go ahead and make a comment on the video, whether it be on our site or on YouTube, and I will pop in and answer all of those questions for you. We're really wanting you to win. I just noticed something. Okay, so see how this leaf, I actually had it going a different direction? I don't like that. I think what really needs to happen is the leaves need to move towards the end. They need to point towards the end of the branch. I think that gives it more of a flow. Now, not to say it's in nature that way, but visually for me, I kind of prefer it on this branch. All right.
Yeah, that green really kind of makes the entire branch come to life.
It does.
And such a neat little trick to hide those little blue spots.
So this is pretty much it. You can, add as many leaves on as you want. You notice that I'm adding them more on the flowers and the buds, but you can also take extra leaves and put them on, kind of these little nodules or little mini branches that are broken off, just to kind of add some extra texture. You can do that as well. My fingers are so sticky right now. This is where the tweezers might come in handy. You can add some like that if you want to. But I'm really liking kind of a lighter weight leaf. Sometimes I will put some leaves on the tips if that seems like the right thing to do. If that feels right. On the tips of the branches that are kind of bare. But since mine is such an awkward shape, I think I'll leave it off because I think it brings your eye to the tip. Yeah, so I'm going to call it for this one. I might go back and add a few more, but I think it looks really good right now.
It's very pretty.
I am looking for the pen for my glue. Ah, there it is. I got tied in with the wires there. All right, what do you think? So just like this one, I would cut out this cute little tag and add it to this stem and give it to a friend. Or find some sort of container to place this in my home and enjoy it. Either way,
it's
or both.
beautiful either way. Yeah, makes a gorgeous gift.
Yeah. Are there any more things we need to remind everybody of, or did we catch everything? We have so much to share with you all. So we
just want to reiterate that this bundle makes hundreds of flowers, and it's currently at 25% off at feltpapersisters.com. So make sure you pop over and grab your bundle before they sell out.
Yeah.
We're also having a sale this weekend on all of our heavy crepe paper flowers, and the coupon code is
crepe paper, not crepe paper flowers.
Yes.
But you can make flowers out of them. Yeah.
And the coupon code is again bloom together.
Bloom together.
Just like we bloom together.
Yes, just like we are. And just to say a note on this too, if you buy this bundle to make these, but you have leftover, we have so many templates and tutorials for other things that you can make with this crepe paper. So you will not waste anything. This is all very, very usable.
Look how pretty this turned out. I am just in awe.
And this is a beginner flower, and it just looks stunning.
Yeah, it really does. It makes such a beautiful gift.
Yeah. And if you are interested in learning to make more flowers, of course, we have hundreds of different paper flowers over on our site. And I wanted to show you, this is the version that we did last month. For our members, this is the member make, and there's a lot more detail on these, and they are even more realistic. I love them both, but I think that, if you're wanting to go deeper, just know we have everything between beginner all the way to advanced like this over on our site, so we can keep you busy for a very long time.
Yeah, we have over 2,000 templates, so head on over.
We do. And we're going to be doing a what is it, a dogwood branch next month.
Yes.
So we're going to show you how to do that. We'll hope you'll be there. And of course, if you pop over to our site, you can find all kinds of other projects to make as well.
Yes, and before you leave, make sure you head over to liagriffith.com/barely for a chance to enter to win this glue set. We'll be announcing the winners on March 10th at noon.
All right, and we'll see you next month and hopefully sooner.